Great, thank you. All right, let's move on to the next slide.
All right, as we gather here today, all to begin our work, let's acknowledge that no matter where we're zooming in from, that we're on the traditional lands of Native Americans. Their ancestors were the original inhabitants of the land that we're occupying today. As we proceed with our work, let's make sure that our deliberations and recommendations benefit their descendants equitably. We'd like to start our meeting with a land acknowledgement, recognizing that Indigenous people have historically been moved from their homelands and territories. In the U.S. Has seized more than 1.5 billion acres from Indigenous people between 100 years of 1776 and 1887. But today, most of that land still held in trust by the government, severely restricting the rights of Native American people. It's important to note that on this map, you don't see the Duwamish, Wanapum, and Chinook tribes who are not recognized by the U.S. federal government, but should be acknowledged as they have had a long history in present-day Washington and continue to do so. Recognizing the original inhabitants and spaces that we occupy through awareness building and land acknowledgement practices is an important step towards advancing equity, in education and beyond. Wherever you are virtually in Washington State, please maybe just take a few seconds to acknowledge in the chat the land that you are on and the traditional homeland of the indigenous peoples of Washington. As y'all fill up the chat there, we'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge that the history of this nation is one that's fraught with contradictions. For too long, this country has elevated a story of democracy and freedom while minimizing the impact of violence and oppression on marginalized communities on whose backs this country was built. Today, members of our Black Nation communities and other communities of color continue to experience racism through police brutality, mass incarceration, inequitable education and health services, deportation, and other forms of subjugation. We aim to disrupt the legacy of systemic racism by centering racial equity and justice in the work that we do today and here on out. This is how we stand with our communities of color. So before we begin, we want to just take a moment of silence, please, to consider these words and ponder how you might join us in this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, for getting us started and grounding us in that. So welcome, everyone. We're very excited to have you here with us to kick off this SEL professional learning series and to get excited about it. I'm really excited about it. So before we get started, here's a couple reminders. We have quite a few people on this kickoff today. So we will be monitoring the chat very closely. Please use the chat for any questions or comments that you have. And we have staff monitoring the chat box for those questions and comments. Please remain muted throughout this webinar so that we can make sure everybody can hear the presentation. And this session is being recorded. So the goals for today, this is kind of our goals and agenda. We'll start with an overview of PESB and SEL in Washington. And then we'll talk about the SEL Professional Learning Series and how it can benefit you and your students. And while we're talking about that, we'll learn about each session and what each session includes, as well as the facilitators. We'll also touch on how to earn clock hours for this series. And then we will finish up tonight with learning how to create a PGP using this professional learning series. And then we'll have lots of time for questions at the end of the evening as well.
Mackenzie, there are a few questions in the chat. Do you want to take those first, or?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take the questions.
Okay, so I think one question that I saw was related to attendance verification. How can educators verify their attendance for this session?
We will talk about that later in the presentation.
Okay, sounds good. And I think Leanne already answered the other question, so we are good to go.
Okay, great. All right, Erica, you're up.
Absolutely. So we are staff at the Professional Educator Standards Board. And often people ask us like, okay, how are you different than OSPI? Who are you? What is it that you do? So we're one agency with two boards. We have the Professional Educator Standards Board that sets policy regarding preparation, credentialing, workforce for certificated educators. So we have one statutory, they have statutory authority over certificated educators, and the paraeducator board sets the policy and professional learning, minimum employment requirements, and professional learning policy for paraeducators. So while OSPI is implementing our policy and doing things that more closely impact students, we set the policy for adults. So when I think about that, I'm thinking about, you know how everyone says it's important to put kids first and to have their needs met. What we do is we're responsible for making sure the adults who put kids first are taken care of. So we are trying to make sure that that you, as the adults who are responsible for Washington's children and youth during the school year, that you get some of what you need. And so for us, it's really important to live our mission, vision, and values. So we're often talking about our land acknowledgement and our moment of silence, and how we don't want those to just be words. We don't want to just perform and act as if we know it all. We want to live our mission. We want to walk our talk. So we're here to strengthen the workforce through standards, policy, and innovation. So you often hear about grants, and that's what we mean by innovation, that we provide seed funding to generate ideas that we hope will eventually lead to statewide policy. We want an equity-minded workforce that facilitates learning and growth for all of the students. So we have CCDEI standards, we have social emotional learning standards for students and expectations for adults. We want those things to be used so that we come out of school not needing healing after our 13 years of school experience. And we value educator voice. So it's not just, we don't just want to hear from you, we want to act on what you say. We value diversity, equity, inclusion. We believe in excellence for educators, which is part of why we're offering this professional learning series. We believe in community engagement, and we are looking for ways on a regular basis to kind of reframe what we do so that we are learning from community experts and not expecting everyone to answer to us. And we're all about trying things out. So learning and innovation. What can we learn from you by reframing how we offer professional learning? So that's a little bit about who we are and what we hope to do. Next slide, please. So what's up with this focus on SEL? Leani and Mackenzie have done a lot of work in the last few years, Projecta as well, done a lot of work with professional learning grants, offering grants to small groups of people to see what we can learn in those small settings that we can use to influence policy at the state level. And we also know that we have come out, or we hope to be coming out of a pandemic after 2 years. And during that pandemic, our educators have expended a lot of energy, making it difficult sometimes to get your 100 clock hours that you need to be certified, you've been working really hard, and we have been hearing, hey, we don't have energy to apply for grants we might not get. I don't have energy to do anything else during the school day. So we thought to ourselves, how can we help you without making your lives harder than they need to be? And so this really came out of conversations with staff who said, here, what can we do that's going to support educators? Well, I have heard on an ongoing basis, adults who have an enhanced capacity for social emotional learning are the best at helping children build their capacity for social emotional learning. So step one was, how do we help adults build social emotional learning, their own capacity, without adding extra work to them? So we decided we're going to host this series of webinars that's going to allow you to build your capacity. We're going to offer them via webinar and viewing the webinar on your own time so that you have flexibility in the work. And we're going to make the clock hours for free, so it doesn't cost you anything. So we thought, what is the easiest way we can support your learning? Give it away. Make it easy for you to participate and try to make it as meaningful as possible. So what you see here is the pathway that thought took. First, we wanted to support you. We had these grants. We know it's impactful and important, but we can't do it the exact same way, because if we did, we wouldn't reach as many people and we might only be adding work to your plates. So we brought these to you to refresh you as an educator, to try it out, to see, is this a more accessible, meaningful way for us to provide professional learning opportunities to you as a way of giving back to the profession? Like you pay cert fees, you work many hours. What can we do to make the expectations for professional learning easier for you and meaningful at the same time? So that's why we have this focus on SEL. We'll have other foci going forward in the future, but this is what we hope will be rewarding and useful for you this year as we try to recover from the pandemic.
Thank you, Erica. So as Erica said, yeah, the social emotional learning, and we've known what research says about educators being able to best support their students when they have their own social emotional learning filled. You're learning about your capacity, your self-awareness. And so we wanted to start just by letting you know how Washington State defines SEL. As you know, we have our own Washington State SEL standards. And so a work group met who developed those standards, and they also developed a learning implementation guide. And on these slides, you'll have links to all of these. So we would encourage you, as you have time, if you want to learn more about those, to look into those later. But this is the definition from Washington State, and it basically says that social emotional learning is a process through which individuals build awareness and skills in managing emotions, setting goals, establishing relationships, and making responsible decisions that support success in school and in life. So this is what we're going to be focusing on. But really focusing on doing this for ourselves. There are a lot of strategies out there to work with students on SEL, but this most foundational piece is working on ourselves and helping ourselves grow in this area. So we're going to be doing that throughout this series. And if you'll see on the next slide that the same group developed guiding principles for SEL as well. And it's shaped by a commitment to these following 4 guiding principles: equity, cultural responsiveness, universal design, and trauma-informed practices. Again, there's a link on there. So much we don't have time to share today, but wanted to provide you with those resources as well. And then on the next slide, Eric has already mentioned this, but one of the things that came from the group that developed the SEL implementation guide based on their research as well is just as you see here, building adult capacity in Washington State is considered one of the 3 essential elements in our education system that are critical to ensuring that SEL efforts in schools stay true to Washington State's commitment to every child. So I know as educators, we are often so busy helping other people and helping our students. But one of the best ways to help our students is to help ourselves. So we're really excited you're here with us today to do that. And so you can see the other quote. Oh, sorry, real quick, just going to go back just to let you know that so we're really going to be working on engaging our own social and emotional skills during this time, and identifying and countering bias as well. And that would include our own biases and learning our own thoughts and feelings on those. So Matt, now you can go. Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to jump into talking about the social emotional learning, professional learning series a little bit more. So with this series, like Erica and Leonie mentioned, we're really hoping that all educators can gain new tools and really cultivate your identity as an educator and strengthen, as well as strengthen your community through your own self-growth and inquiry about yourself. All educators are welcome to come to this professional learning, including classified staff, paraeducators, ESAs, teachers, and administrators. So feel free to invite your colleagues to come to the rest of the sessions. All of the sessions will be interactive. So the sessions will be virtual. They're all on Zoom. But they'll be interactive. So there'll be small group time, there'll be reflection time. So that is something to look forward to. It's not just a sit and get webinar. And then the last thing to note is that the sessions build on each other. So all of the sessions are designed in a cohesive series. That being said, you are not required to attend all of the sessions. So if you can't make it to a session, don't worry, you can join in on the next one. And we will be recording all sessions. So if you do miss one and you wanted to go, you can view the recording. One thing to note about the recordings, though, is that there will be a little bit of a delay between the live session time and when the recording is available, just due to processing and getting it captioned and all of that. But all of the recordings eventually will be available on PESB's website. Okay, so here is the schedule for the whole series. So right now we're at the top with the series kickoff and PGP guidance. So that's what we're talking about today. And then you can see on this slide all of the different dates and the session topics that will be on each date. And so I think, yeah, Leonie just put in the series schedule, which also includes all of the registration links. So you can go and register for all of those and save the dates and times. We'll talk a little bit more about each session and go into detail about what each session is about in a couple of minutes. Okay, so we have 3 facilitators that will be doing this series. And these are facilitators that are outside of PESB. So we decided that our PESB staff does not have the expertise of how to teach adult SEL or how the best practices for you to learn best as educators. So we have 3 facilitators that will be facilitating each webinar. And we'll talk in a minute about which facilitators are doing which webinar, but to introduce them, All three of them are on this slide, and I believe a couple of them may be on the call. But the first one is Dr. Bonnie McDaniel. And Dr. Bonnie McDaniel is the founder and executive director of Emotion Wise Coaching, LLC. She is a current member of OSPI's SEL Advisory Committee and represents the Washington PTA. Bonnie has been instrumental in developing Washington's SEL implementation briefs for teachers and principal preparation programs. She has also participated in the work group that developed Washington's SEL standards, benchmarks, and indicators, and Washington State's SEL implementation guide for educators that Leonie talked about earlier. Bonnie has previously taught in educator preparation and now facilitates parenting for emotional well-being courses through the Lake Washington Schools Foundation. Okay, and then next, would you go back one, Matt? Sorry. Next is Dr. Marisa Windmill. And Dr. Marisa, are you on the call? I'm not sure if she's able to make it yet. I'll introduce her. So Dr. Marisa Windmill is an ELL teacher, a Girls Who Code facilitator, and a mentor teacher at Kent School District. She is also a leader at NEA and WEA and serves as the Filipino American Educators of Washington Vice President. Marisa is also a past PESB board member. And for the last 2 years, Marisa and Sue Lan, who I'll introduce in a second, co-coordinated the PESD Educators of Color Professional Learning Grant that PESB sponsored. And then last is Sue Lan Hucano. Sue Lan, would you like to introduce yourself? I think you're here. Maybe.
I am. Let me
Okay.
just get into space really quick. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so aloha kako, everybody. I'm Suilan Ho'okano. I'm currently in Australia right now, so I'm at a World Conference on Education. I just want to really just briefly introduce myself to everyone. Aloha, thank you, Caleb. And just say, you know, we really are looking forward to navigating this huakai, this journey with all of you as we begin to really just look at our own selves and, you know, who we are, where we come from, and our place within education, and not just, you know, education, but your own personal selves. And so I'm really grateful. I'm on the Aboriginal lands of the Kaurna people right now in Adelaide, Australia. So I do want to recognize that as well. And then I'm in Enumclaw School District currently, and I reside on the traditional lands of the Muckleshoot. And so I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be able to build community. And I think that as a collective, and we begin to understand our place and who we are, then we create these healthy environments for all of our students and our families. So mahalo nui loa for this opportunity, and I look forward to navigating with all of you.
Thank you, Sulan.
All right, so thank you so much. I'm just so excited. I know all three of these facilitators, they've worked with us, and they are just amazing people. And I'm so excited about attending this series and hearing from them. So I hope that you will find this helpful to you as well. All right, so we're gonna now go into just a little bit more about the different sessions. So you can look and see which ones you'd like to attend and what they are all about. So Dr. Bonnie McDaniel will be leading our first session. She actually is just returning from being out of the country, and so she couldn't be with us this evening, although she wanted to be. So she's really going to kick off our series with the first session on self-awareness, turning the lens inward with compassion. And so as this foundational series, we're going to learn to understand how self-awareness impacts our personal and our professional identities. And so as you can see here in the session, we'll be taking a deeper look at what self-awareness is and how we can cultivate it to enhance our own well-being. And we'll learn how compassion, openness, and curiosity support our capacity to grow self-awareness and gain practice in this skill with a mindfulness exercise. And I think we have a mindfulness exercise in every series, which I hope you'll really enjoy. So in this first session, you'll also develop your self-awareness further by reflecting on your identity and your aspirations as an educator. And so you can see this is our first series, which will be next month, Tuesday, October 18th from 4 to 6. Okay, next slide, please.
Thank you, Leonie. So Marisa just messaged me and said she'll be able to join us in about 10 minutes. So we'll hear from her then. But the second session, which will be in November, is presented by Dr. Marisa Windmill and Sulan Hukano. And it is all about self-awareness and consciousness, and diving into your authentic self with evaluation and rediscovering your superpower. So in this session, you'll understand the strengths of your personal and professional identities. You'll begin to awaken and reclaim your gifts, assets, and strengths. You'll begin to remind yourself that you already have permission to feel, grow, and empower yourself, your students, your community, and others. This session will also provide a space to navigate and learn some strategies about how to unpack your gifts and leverage your full potential. So this session will take place on Monday, November 14th. Next slide. Okay, great. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And then session 3, we'll be back with Dr. McDaniel again. And this session will then start with self-management and self-guidance. So responding to emotions wisely. And so in this session, we'll understand how to regulate emotions to enhance our personal and professional well-being. And so in this session, we'll learn that all learning is social and emotional, and we'll dive into an exploration of emotions and the vital role that they play in learning and in personal well-being. So you'll learn how to grow your emotional awareness and learn strategies for regulating and enhancing your emotions. We'll reflect on areas where emotions might be interfering with your ability to realize your full potential as an educator and identify strategies that could be helpful to you. So this, as you'll notice, we skipped December. We know it's a busy month and hope that you will have time to relax and enjoy some time with your family and friends. So we're coming back here Tuesday, January 17th at 4 o'clock. All right, and then we'll go on to session 4.
Great. Session 4 is again led by Dr. Marisa Windmill and Sulan Hukano. And this session is all about self-management and self-guidance, community building in using transformative strategies. During this session, you'll understand how to develop your personal and professional identities in community with others. So during this session, you will utilize self-awareness to learn to remove direct distractions, remind yourself of your purpose, restore healthy relationships, and authentically listen to collective wholeness. During this session, we will utilize social awareness to learn how to cultivate a collective community and how to sustain wellness. And this session will take place on February 6th, Monday, February 6th. Thank you. You're muted, Leonie.
Darn it, I thought I could get through one without being muted, but thank you. Okay, session 5, we will be with Bonnie McDaniel again, and we'll then begin talking about social awareness and growing empathy across our differences. And so we'll be practicing empathy and community with others. And so as we develop self-awareness and our capacity to regulate our emotions, we'll also grow in our ability to respond with empathy to others. So in this session, we'll learn about how our brains are wired for empathy, and we'll practice the skill of empathetic listening while maintaining boundaries. We'll learn about common obstacles to empathy, and you'll identify personal strengths and growth areas as an empathetic listener. So this will be March 21st. And I don't know if you've noticed, but they're going back and forth between Mondays and Tuesdays. So if you have a meeting that you always are on Tuesdays, you can attend the Monday sessions and then listen to Tuesday's recording or vice versa. But this will be on Tuesday, March 21st from 4 to 6 p.m.
Our 6th and final session will take place in April, again by presenters Dr. Marisa Windmill and Sulan Hukano. So session 6 is about self-efficacy and social engagement and community. So we will learn about activating your superpower in sustaining healthy ecosystems. And during this session, we'll develop as an individual and as a member of a community while helping others to do the same. In this final session, we will revisit understanding who we are and what we are here to contribute. We will understand the symbiotic relationship to everything and all that is around us within the ecosystem. We will co-create a healthy environment through self-growth, inquiry, diverse lived experiences, and transformative practices. This last session will take place on Monday, April 17th from 4:30 to 6:30. All right. And the moment we've all been waiting for, how to earn our free clock hours. So you can, through this professional learning series, you can earn up to 38 clock hours. And so how that works is today, this session that we're in right now, this kickoff, you can earn 1 clock hour for today's kickoff. And in the next slide, in the next couple slides, we'll give you the PD Enroller link and give you more information about how to get the clock hour for today's session. Every of the professional learning sessions after this one are 2 clock hours each. So each of the 6 sessions is 2 clock hours, which adds up to 12 total. The sessions will be recorded. So if you watch the recording later, you can also fill out an attestation form to earn clock hours for watching the recording. And we'll talk about how to do that in the next slide. You can also earn an additional 25 clock hours for free by completing a PGP based on these SEL professional learning web series. And Leonie and I will talk more about how you might use this series for your PGP in just a little bit. So yes, so at each session, watch out for the link to register for PD Enroller during the session. And other info, at every session, we'll talk about the clock hours again in case you miss something or forget. All right. Jennifer, I just saw your little question pop up. We'll talk about PGP. A PGP is a professional growth plan, and we will talk about those. We'll go into detail about those in just a couple of minutes. Yeah, okay. So how to earn your clock hours. So all the clock hours associated with this professional learning series are free, which is really awesome. So every time you do one of these trainings, you will enroll for the training at the PD Enroller link provided. We'll give you the one for tonight in just a moment. So you'll enroll with the PD Enroller link, and then you also must attend the live training and enter your name, district, and email address that you use to register for clock hours into the chat. You don't have to enter the district. You can just enter your name and the email address you use to register for clock hours in the chat. We will use that information from the chat to verify, to check, like we'll cross the PD enroller information with the information you enter into the chat to award clock hours. So we need both of those in order to do that. If you cannot make the session and you watch the recording, you'll have to view the recording and submit the PESB clock hours attestation form. And so that attestation form will come with the recording link. So you'll get those links together. Oh, and Project to put the attestation just in case in the chat. Let's go to the next slide and then we'll have some time for questions about this. So for today's session, to get clock hours for tonight, right now, you'll need to enroll for clock hours for the September 27th kickoff in PD Enroller with this PD Enroller link. And you'll need to enter your name and your email address you use to register for clock hours in the chat, which I see many people are doing. So thank you. If you are viewing this kickoff later, you need to enroll for the PD Enroller with the PD Enroller link. You need to view the recording and then submit the clock hour attestation. You only need to do the attestation form if you are viewing the recording. Okay. Leonie, do you have anything to add?
No, I think the only thing I would add is, so there's going to be two different links, which sometimes get confusing. You have the link to actually register for the session, and that's what will give you the Zoom invite so that you can get into the session. And then you also have this PD Enroller link, but we're trying to keep it simple. Like Mackenzie said, at each session, we will give you the PD Enroller link for that session. So yeah, nope, that's it, Mackenzie.
Okay. I think we're going to pause here for questions before we start talking about the professional growth plans. Are there any questions? Shaylin.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to be here and be a part of this series. It's really exciting. But a question about clock hours. So do we still need our principal or admin to sign our clock hour form and turn that in for clock hours?
So Shaylin, I think that will really depend on your district. The way these clock hours will be awarded is because they're through OSPI. Once we verify your attendance, OSPI will automatically enter these into the eCert program for you through PD Enroller. But I know that some districts have additional requirements that you go through your HR. So you'll really want to check with your district on that. But these will be entered automatically through the PD Enroller system.
Thank you.
There's a question in the chat on if PD Enroller link requires a code. Can you answer that?
I don't think it does. If you use the link that's right here, I don't think it requires a code. This link will take you directly to that PD Enroller. I did it today and I didn't have to enter a code. But as you are doing this, if you come up with any questions or difficulties with PD Enroller, you can, Mackenzie and I will share our email at the end of this. And so feel free to email us and we'll help you work through that. And can we put the PD Enroller link back up? Yeah, Matt, do you mind going back?
Oh, I just put the link in the chat.
Perfect, thanks. So you should be able to also get it from the chat and then click on that in the chat and that should take you to it.
And then can you, I think there's a question, should we go on the PD link now?
Okay, it asks for a password. That's interesting. I did not get that. Let's try. Sure, Matt, can you click on the that link right there? See, okay. So you can click on register now. And Matt, you can, if you don't mind, you can go ahead and do that. And oh, so the password is to log into your PD Enroller account. So if you've never used PD Enroller before, see right down there, it says new to PD Enroller. So Matt, go up just a little bit. It says create an account. Sorry, right there you go, right down there. So you can log into PD Enroller or create an account, or as Matt was showing, sign in with Google also. Is it okay if our PD Enroller email is different than the one we used to initially register for the session? What I would suggest is go back and re-register for this session with the email that you're going to be using in your PD Enroller. That just makes it a lot easier for us to track your attendance. And otherwise, there is a possibility it could get overlooked. Good question.
And do they have to go to the PD link now? There was a
They don't have to. These actually is going to be open through May 30th. Thank you. That's a great, we need to put that on our slides. These will actually be open to May 30th. And that way, now if you're attending tonight, you want to go ahead and try to register within, this week. But if you're watching this recording, you can register when you're watching it, and you will have up till May 30th to claim the clock hours. Is there a way I can confirm I'm registered on PD Enroller? Yes, what I would try to do if I were you is create a new account. And then if it says, if you already are registered, it will say this email is already registered. Then it will allow you to reset your password if you don't remember your password. And someone I see is putting that in. Thank you, Stephen, for putting in the clock hours.
Liani, someone is asking if that the PD Enroll is asking for a claim code.
We might have to get back to you on the claim code.
So if you, Ashley, if you want to email with Mackenzie and I with that one, we will check that out for you.
Yeah, it looks like there's several people asking for a claim code.
Okay. Yeah, I am not sure what that is. This is free, so you shouldn't have to make any payments to this. And I didn't see a claim code. So Mackenzie and I have all of your emails. So we will, this is a question we'll look up and we'll get out information to you this week.
And then there's another comment in the chat that they logged on, but it doesn't show this PD only for September 28th.
Oh,
it shows September 28th or the
28th. Yeah,
okay.
That is the next, not for today's.
Is it the same meeting? I wonder if there was a typo in it. Because when I did it, it did show this meeting. So if it's a typo and it says the 28th, well, no, it says Tuesday, September 27th. If you click on that link, it says registration ends Friday, September 30th. They have changed that, so it will end May 30th. It may just take to have to go through the session overnight, and by tomorrow, then it should say that you can register till May 30th. I'm seeing something from Eric, the claim code 149247. Yeah, that may be it. Again, when I registered, I did not have to enter a claim code, but that is the event number. So you might want to try that. And we will get that information out to you. Okay. All right.
okay.
And Andi, we just put the link. I think Projecta maybe could put the link again in the chat for PD Enroller. And she also has put the link for the slides in there as well. All right, and I think we are.
What if we forgot our password?
There should be on there where it says reset password.
Forgot password?
Yeah, forgot password. That will do it.
Okay, we'll go from there. Okay.
Okay, and I'm seeing someone says the event number doesn't work. So again, Mackenzie and I will research about the claim code and we will email that out to everybody.
Yes.
All right. So I think we're going to go ahead and get on just because we want to make sure you all can get out of here on time also and spend time with your
Oleani, before
we'll be doing. Yes.
Sorry, before we go, there's one more question. Can you clarify if this process is the same for certified as well as the classified staff?
Yes, it is. So paraeducators can claim clock hours. If you're a classified staff that's not a paraeducator, you are not in the eCert system. You can, however, create your own account in the eCert system. And so we can get information out how to do that as well. But then it will work the same for both paras and classified and certified. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, there will be time at the end for more questions as well. So let's go on to creating a professional growth plan or a PGP and how to incorporate the SEL professional learning with that.
Perfect. Thanks, Mackenzie. Okay, so I know some of you, it sounds like I've never heard of professional growth plans. Some of you may have completed professional growth plans. What we would like to do is to do a quick, brief overview of what a professional growth plan is, point you to some resources, and give you the information that you'll need to be able to use if you choose to this PGP with this series. Again, you are not required to do this. You're not required to do any work, but come and listen and engage. So if it's like, oh, I don't want to work on it, that's just fine too. But if you would like to do your professional growth plan, you can earn 25 free clock hours for this. I would like you to know only one PGP can be completed each year between July 1st and June 30th. So if you're doing another professional growth plan, you won't be able to do two of them. You can do the one you're doing, or you can do this one. It doesn't matter. But if you would like to do a professional growth plan through this, you can see on the right side of the form, and I will walk through this form in a minute, but you can see what it looks like. That's the first page of it. And what professional growth plans are, they are really job embedded, self-directed professional development. We've done grants around the last 3 years, and I was a teacher. I was a para in this system for about 8 years and a teacher for another 8 years, and had not done para professional growth plans. But when I came to PESB and started working on these grants, I'm just so excited about them because they are, to me, one of the best ways or the best methods for professional growth, because it's something that I can do within my job. I can direct what I want to learn. And so this growth plan has 5 sections that you see here. We have it has a needs assessment and goal selection section. Then you'll be aligning your goals to standards. You'll create a professional growth action plan. You'll collect evidence of your plan, and then you'll reflect on your growth. And then the final piece of this will be to have a educator who has a Washington State certificate review and sign your professional growth plan. That does not have to be a supervisor, does not have to be, it could be a teacher or someone with a ESA certificate, a CTE teacher certificate, an administrator certificate, or someone who already has their paraeducator general or advanced certificate. So that is just the overview. And what I'm going to do is, actually, I think we'll go to the next slide first, Matt. Sorry about that. Let's go there first. Oh, Mackenzie, I apologize. You should. All right, this is yours.
That's okay. You can go ahead. You're on a roll.
Okay. So again, anyone complete a PGP. Teachers can complete a PGP, administrators, all educational staff associates, and paraeducators. And the 25 clock hours you earn can go towards your certificate renewal. So if you were to complete most certificates, except for paraeducators, if you were to complete 100 or 4 PGPs, you will have completed your entire 100 hours. So you have 5 years to earn 100 hours to renew your certificate. If you do 1 PGP for 4 years, you'll have that taken care of. So it is the same PGP. It's the same form for everyone. And so if you'll go on to the next slide, Matt, we will look again at this. And then I think there's a couple questions. And before I walk you through the form, we can answer those questions about PGPs. So the first thing you're going to need to do is complete the PGP template. Again, after you complete the template, you're going to attach evidence from your so we have from your educator evaluation, PLC, or project. So evaluations and PGPs are totally separate. However, sometimes you can use some of the goals you're working on for your evaluation. Those are student goals. In PGPs, you have your goals for your own professional learning. But what you can do is take those student goals, tweak them a bit, so that they talk about your own learning. And that is one way to incorporate your evaluation, your TPEP goals into a PGP. You'll then have a Washington State Certificated Educator review and sign it. And then for the PGP, you actually do have to go into the OSPI eCert system yourself, or if you're in a district that your HR does it for you, you'll go with them and you'll enter that. There is also a verification form. Some districts give salary advancement for additional clock hours. So you'll have to check with your district as to whether they do that or not. So if we can go to the next slide. So I think I'm going to stop here for just a minute. And in just a minute, I'm going to walk you through all this. But I want to just look and see if there's any questions regarding PGPs. Amy, what's the benefit for paraeducators? So all paraeducators are required to earn their general paraeducator certificate, which requires 70 clock hours. So if you complete this PGP, you earn 25 of those 70 required clock hours. So that is the benefit for paras. And let's see if anyone else, let's see. Can we use these hours? Yes, you can use the hours towards your para certificate. Can we even claim those for paid hours? So I'm not exactly sure what that question is, but Jenny, in something like this, where you are getting clock hours for attending something and you include this activity in your PGP, you can get those 25 hours. As far as if, yes, the PGP, a lot of times you can do that while you're working, right? So one of the PGPs, let's say it's on SEL and it's, you know, I want to learn about my own self-awareness and then help my students with that, right? So you're going to be doing that in your classroom time when you're teaching or when you're working with students on social emotional learning, so that you will be completing some of these activities that you're doing during your paid time. It really depends on the activities you choose to complete your PGP. You are the one who gets to choose those activities. Will it count towards your advanced paraeducator cert if you already hold the general? That is one slide we forgot to include, and maybe we can have someone look that up. Oh, thank you, Projecta. Put information.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to mention that the paraeducators can complete 3 PGPs in order to earn the advanced certificate. So yeah, that was the question, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yep. And so I know that there are certain certificates it does and does not count towards.
Yeah, so subject matter certificate is one of the certificates for which you cannot complete a PGP.
Thank you. And
In
for,
order to earn, but they can renew, subject matter certificate can be renewed with a PGP, but you cannot earn your subject matter certificate by completing a PGP.
perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, and we're going to take a couple more minutes for questions because I do want to get through this and get you out of here. So what we will do, Mackenzie and I are also developing a FAQ. So if we don't get to your question tonight, we will have developed an FAQ and email that link out to you. We can do this FAQ around PGPs and your questions tonight as well. Okay. And Projecta or Mackenzie, do you see any other questions in there about PGPs right now?
I don't see any.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go forward with this so we can get going. The first thing that I would really suggest you do is read through PESB's website for PGP information. We have a lot of information there. And the way to get there is that you'll go to pesb.wa.gov. You'll click on current educators in the top box, and it will drop down and you'll click on professional growth plans. Once you go through that, you'll see our entire page, and I'm going to show it to you very briefly here. And let's see, Matt, I'm going to try to start sharing my screen. And let's see, I don't know, can you all see that? Okay. So it may be a little small, but if you go here to current educators, click on PGPs, and you're going to see it tells all about PGPs. There are a lot of links I would really recommend that you look at. PGPs for program completion, those are for actually educator candidates, so that won't apply to you. Talks about the clock hours, how to complete the form. The actual form is here. And then this is something that this I think is really helpful. You can go according to your role and find the exact information you need for your PGP. So if you're a paraeducator, you can click on paraeducator. It will tell you what the PGP can count towards, how to track the PGPs in the eCert system, the standards that you can use to align your PGP to. It also has self-assessment forms. In a moment, you'll see the very first step is to complete a self-assessment. And so for each of these, you'll be able to find what standard applies to your PGP. And you'll also find some samples of a paraeducator PGP. If you're an administrator, you do the same thing. You'll find information about your certificate renewal, the standards for your PGP, self-assessment forms you can use, and even some administrator samples. So just wanted to share that with you. And then I believe what I'm going to do next, so we have a few slides. When you get the slide deck, you can have this for a resource, but I'm going to actually project, if you could put the link to the actual PGP in the chat. They could click on that and see what it looks like, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, show you what a PGP looks like, do a quick walkthrough, and then we will have information at the end of every session, some time for questions on PGPs as well. So you can see here, very first important thing to note is when you click on this, you're not going to be able to save this unless you download it. So you're going to want to click on the PGP and either download it or save it to your email, usually download it as a Microsoft Word. All right, and then you're going to fill out just your information here. And then you're going to see the very first step is a self-assessment and goal selection. So you're going to use one of the self-assessments. Go ahead. So you can click here. This is one thing Project and I have been updating this form. We need to update because besides using one of the self-assessments based on your role, we also have a social emotional learning self-assessment and a CCDI, cultural competency, diversity, and equity. So The one thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go back to this web page for PGPs, and you're going to click on your role, and you'll see here there's a social emotional learning self-assessment. So you can click on, we are going to have to update that. My apologies. Okay. There is a social emotional learning self-assessment. And I think we have it updated on one of them. But basically what it does is it gives you the standards and it lets you choose in your self-assessment. Am I proficient in that? Do I need growth in that area? Do I need a lot of growth in that area? So for this, we would recommend using the social emotional learning self-assessment, since that's what these activities are around. So then you're going to enter here the name of the self-assessment you use. So I would just say here, PESB, SEL self-assessment. Now, CASEL has SEL self-assessments. There are a lot of other self-assessments. You can use any of them that are out there. You don't have to use PESBs. And then you're going to talk about your area of focus based on your self-assessment. What area or topic will you focus on? So I looked at the self-assessment earlier. I know that it talked a lot about my self-awareness and awareness of other cultures. So I might just put in that I'm going to focus on my own self-awareness. And, you know, cultural responsiveness to others, whatever it is that you find from the assessment you need to work on. Then, and I know I'm going through this quickly, but you can have this recording and watch it again. These are the standards. And again, you're going to, what you're going to do here is align your area of focus to the standard. And you're going to want to include the name of the standards and any other identifier. So I'm going to look at these social emotional learning standards, and let's hope, yay, it did come up. This takes you to Washington standards. And I know that I talked about my area of focus as self-awareness. And look here, here's standard 1, self-awareness. So what I'm going to do here is I can even just copy and paste the standard, or you could choose just one benchmark to work on from that standard. One of the things I would recommend is keeping it simple. I apologize. Now I lost my place. Here it is. So I'm going to align mine to the Washington State SEL standards. And I'm just going to copy in there. That's the standard I'm going to align mine to. And then this is the part where you really get to thinking your professional growth goals. These are goals that you set for your own professional growth, not the growth of your students. So this is a really a change in mindset for educators. You are so wonderful about focusing on your students and doing everything for your students. This is all about you. Okay, so you're going to choose what your growth goals are for yourself. We do know that your growth goals will have an impact on the growth of your students, right? But you want to think here, what do you want to learn this year? In what specific areas would you like to grow? So I'm going to come up with my professional growth. Maybe I want to learn what self-awareness is and how I can improve in this area. Okay, it could be as simple as that. Just think of what you want to learn. Describe how it relates to your self-assessment. I know my self-assessment showed that I needed growth in self-awareness. So I'll just write that in there. And then describe how it relates to your focus area in question 2. Well, my focus area was my own self-awareness and cultural responsiveness. So I'm just going to put in a sentence or 2. You can use bullet points. You can write a paragraph. You can write a couple sentences. As long as the person you're working with that's going to sign it off, you really need to kind of determine with them what they feel, what you together feel is sufficient. But there is no, we don't look for spelling, grammar, any of that. We're really looking for the content on this. So you'll enter some information there, and then you're going to go to your outcomes. They refer to the new skill or ability that you're able to do or that you can improve based upon your learning. So what will you be able to do as a result of attaining your professional growth goal that you can't do now, or that you can improve upon? So mine is all around self-awareness. So I'm going to really think about how can I improve, and what skill will I have regarding self-awareness that I don't have now. And then here are student outcomes. So we know that it's just too hard to separate. We don't want to separate from our students. So even though this educator growth is for us, we know our students are impacted. So what impact will attaining your professional growth goal have on your students? And we already talked today about how we know that educators who have their own social emotional learning and growth are better able to help their students with that. But think about specifically what your growth goal, what impact that's going to have on the students you're working with this year. And then you're going to create your professional growth action plan and evidence. This looks daunting, but really it's not. It's very simple. In the left column, you're going to list what professional growth activities you're going to do. So you're going to need to engage in specific growth activities. Examples are attending trainings, participating in book studies, researching information. Going to make it really simple. If you're doing the PGP to align with this series, you can include attending these sessions or watching the recording of these sessions as your activities. You may want to include more. You may want to say, oh, I'm going to get together with a colleague, my thinking partner, and really talk about this, or I'm going to try some things in my classroom. Those are all great activities. Then you're going to list what evidence you think that you might be able to use to verify that you engaged in these activities. So evidence could include professional learning reflections, professional learning notes. There's a lot of examples here, certificates of completion for these activities. If your activities were attending these sessions, you could include the clock hours. You can include verification you attended these. You could include your notes from the session. Any of those things could be included as evidence. And the same evidence can be used for multiple activities. And then after you complete your activities, you have all year to complete your activities. And then you're going to describe what evidence you actually collected. And you're going to provide that evidence to the educator who's going to review your professional growth plan. I provided all my evidence. I've done the last 3 years I've worked at PESV. I've provided all my evidence. I had my supervisor sign it 1 year. I had a colleague sign it 1 year. I've provided all my evidence just electronically. I sent them an email, and I said, here's my PGP. Here are the links to all the evidence. And then they review that evidence and may talk with you about it. If they feel like it's sufficient and really shows that you did complete these activities, then they will sign your PGP. You can see here where you would list your activities. You can click here to enter each activity. Click here to enter each evidence you're going to collect. Click here to enter each evidence you finally did collect. You don't have to use all the spaces. If you have more than is allowed, you're going to find that we have in the appendix an extra sheet that you can continue to list things in. One of the most important pieces, I think, is your reflection. The very last thing you're going to redo is reflect on your professional learning, the outcomes from your activities and your next steps. So it says, share what you learned through the various activities you completed. You are going to want this to be pretty thorough. It still could be bullet points, but really think about what did you learn all year by attending these sessions, by working with your students on social emotional learning, by working on your own social emotional learning. And then what was the outcome of your professional learning? What can you do now that you didn't before? And what impact will that professional learning and growth have on your students? Very important, the last piece too, what are the next steps that you might take to guide your professional future growth? Are you going to do some more studying, attend more trainings around SEL? Are you going to sign up for a mindfulness class or some kind of like Sulan actually teaches she teaches an Enum I know she does like the healing the canoe for students, and there are canoe journeys. Whatever it is, whatever you get out of this, what do you want to continue continue growing? And then really important piece here, you are going to sign it and print your name. Very important to note that you are signing here that you did this work, you attended these things, and you declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of Washington that this information is correct to the best of your knowledge. An educator could have their license revoked if they were to falsely misrepresent that they did work that they did not do. So really important for you to know that. And your reviewer is also going to declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of Washington that they've reviewed your growth plan and your evidence. Once you sign those, you do not turn these in, actually. You maintain them in your records for 7 years. And if OSPI were to do an audit, you would need to have this record available to show them. But that is what you're going to do. You're going to keep that. So, and then there's an appendix with more information here. And I know that I ran through that at a record pace, and I do apologize. But I wanted the chance to get through it and give you just an overview. We'll have more time to talk about it in further sessions and as well. But I just wanted to show you really how simple it is and how you really can embed this learning into your work that you're doing this year with your own growth. So I don't know, I haven't been monitoring the chat. We have just, I think, a couple more slides and then we have time for questions. So Matt, do you mind sharing? And I think we can start on slide 35. Okay. Yeah, if you can go on down to 35. Thank you. So just a couple reminders, PGPs are separate from TPEP evaluations, like I mentioned. So it does not need to be your supervisor who signs your PGP. PGPs may be reviewed and signed off by a certificated colleague or an administrator. Certificated colleague, again, teacher, ESA, school nurse, school counselor, another paraeducator who actually has their certificate already. PGP and TPEP activities often align. I think I mentioned that as well. So you can choose to use student growth goals and other activities as part of your PGP. All right, one more. Okay, so I think I covered this already. So this slide is just for your information. If you want to use a PGP along with this series, these are the sections where you're going to want to be sure that you include information about that. All right, and words of wisdom from educators. So we've done these PGP grants for 3 years. And I just would encourage you to read these words of wisdom and really do this. Remember, it's your professional growth, not your students. Although your students will be impacted. Be sure it's realistic. You could set 6 goals, and that sounds good right now, but come January, it may be too much. So be really realistic with your goals and really encourage you to manage your time well. If you don't, you may find it's the very end of the year. PGPs are due by the 30th and it's the 29th and you're rushing to get it done and get it signed, which I have actually done. So I would not recommend that. So try to choose someone at the beginning that you're going to have review your plan and then meet with each other throughout the year to just kind of focus on your goals. Those were just words of wisdoms from educators. And now I think we can go on to questions. And Matt, if you want to stop sharing just for a minute, we can answer some questions for a few minutes, and then we will share our contact information as well. So I don't know, Project, if you're able to monitor any questions.
So yeah, there
that
are no
haven't been
questions
answered.
related. Okay, there are no questions related to PGPs that I saw in the chat.
Okay,
There is a question related to clock hours.
okay.
If class is from 4 to 5:30, why is clock hours 1 hour and not 1.5 clock hours? So
Because clock hours actually cannot be offered in half-hour increments. So I don't believe so. They need to be offered so then we could do it for 1 hour minimum. So that's why it is for 1 hour tonight.
and then there was another question we might need some more clarification on this. Will the info I already entered remain if I close out? So I don't know if this is referring PD enroller. Paula, do you want to clarify?
Can I say something?
Sure.
So when I open my PD enroller, you are going to find the calendar of event. So go to the calendar of event and you are going to click the SEL. It's all the way at the bottom. And when you click that one, you will find the registration form and it will show you your clock hours and your number of hours that you attended the sessions, because I already printed mine. So if you navigate, because I did navigation and found it, and it's on the calendar of events, and you click on the 27, it's in all the way at the bottom, and when you click that one, you will be able to see your registration form.
Thank you so much for sharing that information. That's very helpful.
And then another question is it necessary to register with PD enroller?
Only if you want to get the clock hours. But if you do want the clock hours, you will need to register with PD enroller for this.
Okay.
And that is for attending the sessions. That is not the clock hours for the professional growth plan.
And will the recording be sent to all of them? Where can they find the recording later?
Mackenzie, do you want to?
We will, we will post the recordings on the PESB website, and when those are posted, we'll send an email to all of the people that were registered for this webinar.
And now you have PESB's website as well. It's pesb.wa.gov. So you can find it on there. What I would just do when you go to PESB's, just type in the search bar what you're looking for, and it will come up.
Okay, and then another question is about confirmation. So are they receiving confirmation after registration?
Confirmation of PD enroller registration or the Zoom registration?
Yeah, no, the PD enroller.
Yeah, it will give you a confirmation that you registered for it.
Okay. And then let's see. Are PGPs to be completed before the last day of the school, or when is it due? So yeah, I can talk to that. So PGPs are, the last day for PGPs is June 30th of every year. So PGPs, and you can only complete one PGP per year. So what we call a PGP year is from July 1st of 1 year up to June 30th of the next year. So you can complete a PGP and keep, but let's say your certification renewal is after 4 years. So you can record your PGP, record your clock hours for PGPs anytime later. But in order to complete, like get it verified by a certified educator, it needs to be done by June 30th. Okay, and then
I see a question about submitting the attestation form that you attended each meeting. You only need to submit the attestation form if you if you did not attend the live meeting and watch the recording instead.
Right, so if you are here tonight, you will not need to submit the attestation form for this session.
and then, sorry. There was another, can you again repeat information on attendance verification? There's still a question in the chat. How do we get attendance verified?
So PESB will not send you an email that you attended today. You'll sign up for the PD Enroller link. And once we verify with OSPI, OSPI will send you a clock hour verification once the clock hours have been awarded.
And then I see a lot of educators saying that they have received like 1 point. So.
Thank you. So we don't usually provide training with clock hours. So we will look into that and find out. OSPI already approved this. I don't know now if we are able to go and get it approved for 1.5, but we will definitely check into it and see what we can do.
And then another question is, where can I find calendar to locate clock hour form?
We can put the link to the clock hour form in the chat, but the clock hour form is not with the calendar yet. The calendar document, we can put that in the chat. It does include the Zoom registration link, but the Zoom registration and the clock hour registration are two different things.
One question also, how long does it typically take for ESD to approve the clock hours? How long do we have to claim these clock hours? I do not know about OESD. You will want to check with them. OSPI is actually the one that is approving these clock hours. So we will, I am hoping that within, I don't have the exact time. So we are hoping within the month after you attend, hopefully sooner, they will be able to add those to your eCert, but it really will depend on the person in OSPI who's entering those and how long it will take. You will have until, the registration for PD Enroller closes May 30th.
Mm-hmm.
So, however, if you are attending these live, I would highly recommend you go ahead and just enroll for the clock hours at the same time that you are attending these live or within the same week. But you will have till May 30th to watch any recordings and claim those clock hours.
And then another question is, are we still waiting on a clock hour code? So we are, right? We'll be sending it out later. Okay.
Yeah, so we will send out, I believe the information I have we're sending out is the clock hour code, and an FAQ about clock hours and PGPs. Okay. And the FAQ on PGPs may take just a little longer for us to get out. But I'm hoping within the next week or so, we will have that out to you all. Okay.
And then can you talk, what is clock hour claim code? And then there's also a comment that they don't know how to claim clock hours and get into that.
Okay. So if you are in a certificated staff or a paraeducator, then you will use clock hours to renew your certificate. If you're a classified staff and you do not plan on getting a certificate, then you won't need to worry about clock hours. However, if you're classified staff and you think at some point you might want to be a paraeducator, or you might become a teacher or something to use those clock hours, then you can go ahead and create an account in eCert. And I can show you really quickly how to do that. Let me get here first. SPI. Okay, so I'm going to show you. Oops, here we go. Okay, so what you'll need to do is go to OSPI's website, and you'll scroll all the way down and you'll see it says Education Data System. This is where we keep track of clock hours, certificates, all that type of thing. You're going to click on that. you're going to go here. I have an account, so it automatically comes up, but you'll go over here to create an account. And when you create an account, it's going to ask you all of this information. You'll want to create your account and register. Once you get your account, then you can sign in. And for some reason, sometimes it's a little slow. Anyway, you'll be able to go in there and create an account, and then that will let you into the system. You can look on our website, on our slides. They're actually, well, no, I'm sorry, on our PGP website, there is something. If you go down to the PGPs, this is just another way to get to it. And if you go under paraeducators, even though you're not an paraeducator, there is a user guide to navigating the eCert system, which is where you enter clock hours and all of that information. So you can click on there as well and use that guide, even if you're not a paraeducator. But that would be for classified staff. All right, it is 5:29. Are there any questions that someone is just dying to ask that we have not answered yet? Please feel free to raise your hand.
I just wanted to confirm there's a question related to using school email and personal email for PD enroller. So I guess educators can use their personal email for PD enroller. Is that correct? Or
you can use either email, your school or your personal email for PD enroller, but you will just want to be sure whatever email you use for PD enroller, you also want to attend the sessions under that email. That helps us track your attendance.
Mm-hmm. And if the clock are like the OSPI link is under.
I just Googled it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just Googled OSPI, got to their link. It's www.k12.wa.us. And then you scroll down to the yellow bar and you're going to see it says Education Data System. So, perfect. All right. We have a lot of people here. We want to thank you so much, Mackenzie and I don't know, Project, if you have time, we can stay on a few minutes afterwards for those of you who want to ask questions. But we just want to thank you for coming. We hope you have a wonderful year. We hope you take advantage of these sessions and for your own professional growth. And wanted to share our contact information really quick. And I don't know if Matt is still here. Let's see. I can share it if not. So there is our information. If you need to email Mackenzie or I, email usually works better than phone calls just because I'm often in meetings, but please feel free. Yes, and we will be sending out Gov deliveries for the next classes. Mm-hmm. Another thing you may want to do is if you want to get information about courses and other things coming up, you can, let's see, it's not showing it. Oh, Matt, perfect. Matt, could you go to the next slide? Thank you. And you could click on these in the slide deck, click on the pesb.wa.gov or any of these others and follow us. And we usually will have information about the webinars going out on social media and on our website. All right. Thank you so much for everyone. And we hope to see you in October. Mm-hmm. All right. All right.